is really the big standout. You can see IG hovering over it now. They will just pick that one up. I think that increases the priority of something like Jace. But as NIP, you kind of have a bit of a weird choice, right? You can either try to take away that Jace and not let it be paired with, you know, what is going to be Maokai in the jungle, not have that nice mixed damage. Or you have to go for something like the Nico, which I think then makes it a little bit harder to fit Jace in your comp, unless you are willing to flex it between mid and top, or if you were willing to flex the Nico, you know, from mid to jungle. So I'm interested to see how NIP are going to play around this, because this makes sense so far. You could also just lock in the Vi here if you wanted to go for, you know, a very standard follow-up with a jungle pick.
There were moments yesterday when the Nico got through and didn't actually have such pleasurable performance, right? A lot of backline access needed before you can pull off those pop blossoms. So it is a little bit about execution, even if the pick is super strong. But here we have a Maokai already for IG, obviously, and then the Nico and the Aphelios comes through at the last second.
We were so close. We were so close.
Oh, no jinx. You know what? It goes straight to the Xayah.
Yeah, so going to go for that, have the self-peel coming from the feathers. We hit on the second the Maokai came in. I feel like the Jace was just inevitable, and NIP not really, I think, having an easy way to take that one away and fit it into their composition. They do end up just going with the Vi in the end. So NIP already setting up to having to and wanting to run the IG composition down. You're going to have the ultimate from On to be able to protect himself, even the ultimate coming out from Tianzhen on the Maokai to be able to dissuade any engages coming through. So two very different styles coming out from these first 3 picks so far.
I love seeing that Cryin still willing to go with those AD mid laners. Obviously, we already seen him play the Ahri and the Tristana. Now the Jace is maybe eventuality. I was going to say a potential, but honestly, at this point, it's just eventual. Now, the second phase of bans, we have that Rakan ban by NIP. It is the Scion ban for Invictus.
I like the Scion ban because for NIP, you definitely want to be trying to find a way to fit more engage in your comp. Like, you always could go support, right? We've been seeing a fair bit of Nautilus, but with the fact that Lulu's still open, I think you'd want that. So if they could find a way to fit engage in their top side, that would be ideal. With now Gragas off the table, Cassante on the table, Scion, we're kind of making our way down. Yeah, we're kind of at the point where if you want, like, guaranteed engage, we're looking at things like the Malphite. We still haven't seen an Ornn come out, despite the fact that Ornn has been hovered. It was even banned once. But really looking at Invincible to be able to bring the ability to just press the go button.
And, you know, we haven't changed much from our jungle meta from last split either. The Vi Maokai back again. I do like the kind of proactivity that is possible here. But yeah, there's the Malphite gone. The Blitzcrank also was banned there. I loved what we saw yesterday from it. Just a big momentum setter for the teams. But now we'll see what NIP want to save for their counter pick as they lock in their 4th. Maybe a little bit of combo before things get whittled down a little bit more, before you need to choose at least for the combo with Aphelios.
And I think this would be the right call. Again, I feel like NIP know, since they can't get engaged in their top side, even if they would, maybe prefer like a Lulu or an Enchanter down there with the Aphelios to have, you know, a bit of better laning and enable your scaling even more. They're going to need that go button to be able to get on top of things like the Xayah and the Jace. Now for the side of IG, mostly looking at where they're going to go with top lane picks. I mean, YSKM having the blind pick, this is one of the big, I guess not really downfalls, because he could always just fall back on something like the Jax, which was like a bread and butter pick for him back in spring.
I saw the Alistar.
Oh, wait, the Jax is banned.
However, yeah, the Jax is not possible, but the Gwen is still such a huge pick right now, I feel like, at the top lane, and really the only thing left that can be a bit one-sided. We have seen obviously the Kennons and things be very, very prevalent, but that is the Gwen locked in for YSKM.
So very magic damage top side for the side of IG, and now for NIP, just going to go with something that can try and lane against the Gwen. Again, they've already filled out the need for engage in the support role, so now going to have a bit of a well-rounded top side in the sense that, you know, they're going to be fine in the laning phase. You're going to have a bit of presence in sides, but also be able to enable those team fights once he does get that big Mega Gnar for him. So again, I feel like very different drafts coming out from these teams. IG, if they can play around that space and play around the peel that they have, Cryin and On are going to be able to do so much. So that's going to be up to Shadow and Zhuo to be able to connect onto their targets. Luckily, Vi ulti is a great way of being able to do that.
Yeah, you've got to get on those roams, play around it, and here we are on Summoner's Rift for game number 1.
I think we definitely should be in for more action than we had yesterday. I hope I'm not cursing it by saying
You sure
that,
we don't get more than 3 kills in 18.5 minutes? Are you sure?
I'm hoping, but when I look at some of these lanes with how jungles interact, right? Like Jace Maokai, twisted advance to set up, Jace to follow through with all the damage. Same for the opposing side, right? Very easy for Shadow to get in there. Kind of chain CC, bring in the root from Nico, a ton of burst down. Once Cryin's flash is gone, nothing to be followed through. So I think Tianzhen and Shadow have the opportunities to give us more than what we got yesterday. We just need to hope they follow up on it.
I also do see a counter universe that just ends up in farming for two waves, and then you know, we'll see what happens. But I do also love to see
2 waves isn't that long.
Well, I guess I meant two jungle clears. There you go. That's a little bit longer. That's a little bit long. That's what we got yesterday. Is that your favorite part of the new meta? Tell me it is.
No, it's not. But look at Winking On. They're already trying to be a little bit cheeky. And we know from Spring, Winking On love to fight. They love to be the aggressors.
Photic likes to fight you later when he's strong. Yeah, they will see. And isn't it so interesting while we're focusing down here on the bot lane that these are the two pillars, I guess I feel, for these two teams at this point, with the you know, long-standing members, at least crucial pieces for both sides.
Which is crazy to think about, right? Because you think back to last year when you looked at IG and Shun was that pivotal piece. Coming into 2023, you thought there's no way they'd build around On and Wink, kind of IG subpar bot lane. But then at the start of spring, especially because of the meta bringing marksman down into the support role, Wink used to be an AD carry, and On and Wink were having an incredible time in those first few series in the spring split. Now they're going to have to be able to do well without, you know, the crutch of things like Caitlyn, Varus, Jhin being able to fall down into that support role.
Yeah, definitely playing a little bit more reserve this time around. Have the Cole already, obviously. Both sides do. And just trying to feel out how this bot lane's going to go and look how these solo lanes and actually pan out in the early leveling stages. Obviously, I think level 6 will be important for both Cryin, or at least Angel, and Cryin, at least for the power spike at that first item. And I wonder if we get that attention mid lane like we were kind of wanting. We have to will it into existence, right, Lyric?
I feel like we should get it, but knowing just how LPL's been going these days, maybe we don't get it until we hit like reset timings for bot lane.
Okay.
And then, you know, supports do the thing where you always walk mid first. Then, oh look, the enemy mid laner's overextended, and one support's a little bit slower than the other. Bam! That's when all the action just comes and hits you in the mid lane.
So until then, what kind of like campfire snacks do you like? Do you like s'mores? Do you like s'mores?
So recently I've been told the secret to s'mores is actual Cryin.
Just Cryin. We just have 2 1v1s going on. Invincible does miss that boomerang, but will not die.
Results better than yesterday. It's already better than yesterday.
We're already looking up. All you gotta do is talk about camping snacks. Let's see Angel actually move through. We'll be taking the form of Photic. Obviously, he's not there. The thing is, though, it's still Maokai, and the vision control that you get, the control that you can get, I guess, from the saplings is so huge that I want to see how Tianzhen, a new addition to the league, obviously, can do with those.
Yeah, Maokai's definitely a champion where a lot of his strength definitely comes around like the setup for your team, being able to get control of an area.
Shadow using the vault breaker over the wall will be spotted out by a ward, immediately pulling the back off from IG. Tianzhen is down here just in case NIP get a little bit overzealous, but nothing gonna happen. The control, at least at this point from NIP, has been really good in terms of vision.
They're doing a great job. Like, vision line pretty much across the whole map, right? They have full control over bot side. They're the 2 wards in top side river. They're having a pretty stable game. And I was kind of like wonder how that impacts the game, right? I feel like as the game goes on, I actually like what IG have put together. Like, Gwen is going to be insane. I feel like she should be able to do more, and we'll have an easier time in team fights in something like a Gnar, where again you're having to play around that rage bar. You have the Xayah with the self PL. It just, their comp looks terrifying to run into later into the game. And so a lot's going to come off of NIP being able to find picks, right? Being able to catch out stragglers first. No, Invincible.
Invincible, you're done, son. You should know me with the solo bolo.
And that came out of absolutely nowhere. Looks like Invincible himself wasn't even expecting that damage to be able to come through. YSKM even had like no mana when he went for that all in, but having just enough to be able to get the job done. And now with TP, they're both going to get back to lane just fine, so even his wave state won't be messed up. And I wonder if they'll get into a situation where Tianzhen can even influence his top lane matchup even more.
I mean, yeah, why not? If you already got a strong point, you know what you Shinobi can do. You know, got also a pretty aggressive Invincible trying to re-clear out that wave up there. Shadow will take this opportunity to clear out Dragon or start that one up there. We'll see actually the point of view here from YSKM.
Yeah, it goes in with the EQ, fully stacked. And then again, his mana just getting so drained, but still having enough. Once the ult comes out, he's able to run it down. And Invincible having nothing in the tank. Once the hop's gone, cannot
I saw him
escape.
do something in the video, but it cut off right at the last second. Dude, he's looking pretty good on the Gwen. I would say, you know, when that pick was still left open, and we were wondering like, oh, what could come next? Like Gwen is a very obvious choice because every time we've seen Gwen, it's been a monster in the top side.
It's been a monster, but at the same time, I think a lot of teams try to avoid having, like, especially for top jungle, having, you know, AP top, AP jungle, making it very easy for the enemy top laner to be able to itemize it and really having no fear against ganks being able to come out. So I think it is important that YSKM is able to win his matchup handedly. And if there's one thing we know YSKM do, is win a 1v1, right?
As we get a little bit of supportive combat going on here between Wink and Zhuo. And 3 hits, not the 4th. Jin fans all over Cryin. But we will actually see Shadow posturing around Cryin in the mid lane.
See if he's going to be able to find it. But Cryin doing a nice job playing up towards the safe side for himself. And again, this is the matchup that we wanted to see, right? Cryin, someone who is an MSI champion, someone who spent time on RNG going up against Angel, someone who's a world finalist, someone who also spent some time on RNG going head-to-head, and Angel so far doing a great job to find the better and enable a lot of the plays that have come out from NIP so far, right?
Yeah.
Him and the pressure he had mid is what opened up for earlier Shadow getting control of the top side grab. Now same thing, allowing him to scale these Raptors, getting more vision control over the bottom half of the map.
Yeah. And that's what we were curious about coming into this one, was how do these connections work and how do they play? Beautiful flash from Cryin. I actually think Shadow might have been a little wide even with the flash, but you don't get engaged. You get an attempted gank from an IP in the mid lane.
I'm just happy that Shadow didn't overcommit and be like, okay, you know, his flash is down. Screw it. Ult in, and then, you know,
we go.
Unfortunate, you find out Tianzhen is right behind. He could just throw out his own ulti, and then everything would be over.
Old Shadow, maybe. New Shadow, improved. Let's go. It will be the Rift Herald, though, coming over for NIP now. An opposite side play in the works right now from Tianzhen, just in case they can get something off the table if we're on and wing.
IG shouldn't be able to find anything in bot side. The fact that we're already hitting level 6 points, they're not even low, so IG haven't been able to force any heavy trades to try to set up for a dive situation. So ultimately, it will just be NIP picking up the Rift Herald uncontested, losing none of their camps in bot side. Not even, IG couldn't even manage to get any like deeper vision placed in the NIP jungle.
And that's where I want to turn to what that means for their composition. Obviously, we're already 9 minutes in. There's still a lot of time to be played towards this mid-game, as we're going to be cresting over that a little bit later. But it is about a little bit of sustainability from IG's side and finding a way to get those team fights a little bit later on.
For now, they're still doing fine, right? I mean, if the goal of the game is just keep it stable as long as you can, cool. That's exactly what they're doing. No one's really falling behind in terms of lane. Actually, you know, they're up in top side pretty substantially, so we're going to see YSKM get back and catch this wave. Bot lane slightly up. It's like, okay, Cryin's down a little bit, but especially when it comes to who's going to be the big damage dealers later on, right? You already have a Gwen and a Xayah down in bot side, so even if the Jace falls a little bit behind, not the end of the world.
Very true, but we do see some exploratory measures being encountered for NIP, as they were just trying to find some vision in the enemy jungle, but as well as see if they can sneak a little bit of a gank bot lane. They're going to take an early engage to try to buy time for Shadow. Is that Blade Caller, though? Pesky, pesky feathers.
What an absolutely annoying champion to deal with. And I'm interested to see, especially after some of yesterday's games where we were seeing prevalence in Braum in some of our games, right? If teams are going to try and opt into more of this kind of like peeling, zone control, kind of you have to run at us style, and we're just going to make your life a living hell when you do it, right? Because I feel like that has always worked really well against a lot of what LPL teams like to do. So if IG can pull it off here again, it'll just be another game kind of in the testament of again, looking towards things like the Braum, bringing more appeal, going towards the Xayah. And yeah, kind of putting the ball in the enemy's court and saying, hey, you have to figure out how to win this game, because if not, we can just coast.
Oh, I hope he popped it. Okay, I've been the entire time I've been watching the Rift Herald timer for Shadow. I thought he was going to use it in one of the lanes, just uses it in his jungle. Now we see an engage encountered and recountered by NIP. Trying to get Wink here as they have TP'd in. Angels here trying to pretend to be Shadow. They did get a response from Cryin. Now Shadow shows up, and we will see if they can get this going here, as there is a nice little bit of damage on the Cryin. I think it was a bit on different page maybe than the rest of IG, and he will fall. This also means a lot of plays for bot lane.
Especially after Cryin had such a huge performance in their first series. Oh, Wade is invincible. I was going to say, I don't know if he'll be able to do much. YSKM bringing out the needlework just to force him back. But Cryin was when he really stepped up in IG's first series. Picked up both MVPs in that one. Comes out. I guess he doesn't know that Shadow's just waiting in the wings, right? Would have to run away, just trying to get through, put a bit of damage on the way out. Bit of an overcommit. Shadow turns out to be there. And huge injection of gold for the side of NIP.
Now we have Dragon that's been on the table for just a tiny bit, but a redeploy towards the bottom side of the map for NIP and a little bit for IG. I mean, we could get some contention here.
You know what? It's the most important time of the game. Our first Storm Razor's done is Shadow. Also finished an item, Black Cleaver in pocket.
I think they realize that now. They're like, I see 2 completed items in this fight. How many you got? Oh, not enough? All right, let's back away.
I'm surprised NIP are being hesitant on this Drake. Must be coming from the ultis, right? Zhuo having no ultimate. Photic doesn't have the Moonlight Vigil there. Angel, no ulti up. But in the end, they waited out. Seems like IG realized they can't contest anyway, just off of those item disparities. But luckily for IG, they are starting to finish things up. Riftmaker done for YSKM. Demonic Embrace picked up by Tianzhen.
Ooh, AP Maokai. At least for the first time. Maybe he gets a good take. But Shadow actually taking a while to take it. Tianzhen maybe could have tried something crazy, but Shadow does end up securing that one. Now Tianzhen in some trouble here. We'll have Cryin over by him, but there's the Pop Blossom. He's just CC'd to hell. Angel picks up a kill, and now they might look at bot lane.
Moving over as a duo. We talked about Shadow and Angel working together would be the key. They're going to go for it.
They are just non-stop aggression. The depth charge comes out, but the Feather Storm beautifully timed there. You have to wait for the Blade Caller. The cleanse comes through. There's that Blade Caller, but the Moonlight Vigil and Photic shuts him down. Double kill for the ninjas in Pyjamas.
They didn't even need to juggle the turret aggro. Just kind of skirting in, throw out one ability, back off, and it's going to open up first turret for the side of NIP. And now making them up to a 4K gold lead, 14 minutes. Also have gotten both first Drakes. Huge start for NIPs. We're going to go right into the replay. I mean, we saw how this happened, right? They've already killed the jungler. There's literally nowhere left to go. Not really much IG could do on dodging out on the Nautilus ulti, but now you're stuck. And NIP having the range to be able to play with, just look at Angel throwing out those Qs to get them low enough for the Moonlight Vigil to finish them off. Calibrum in hand. And that's all she wrote.
That's a 10 out of 10 dopamine moment for any of Helios players right there. Like, 2 people lined up with nowhere to go under a tower right next to each other. Let's hit them with the Moonlight Vigil. But there's a nice little start for NIP, who will now be trying to transfer that pressure, that first tower, over towards this Rift Herald fight.
No ultimate for On, but we're also missing ultimates on the side of NIP from Angel and Photic, even Zhuo. So a lot of your core engage tools and big AoE tools for NIP are down.
Angel has the potential to use that really big blast cone, maybe come over, but does catch YSKM over there. They did get that Nature's Grasp. Shadow locked down, locked out. and he's down. YSKM will get the first kill here. There's a response. Pop Blossom not even going to come out in time. Invincible is finding some kills, and he's at least helping Photic get kills. About to be Mega Gnar. Can't find too much afterwards. And Zhuo picks up the Rift Herald. So everything works out for NIP, who seemingly come out on top with a 2 for 2.
I am actually surprised that NIP had enough damage to be able to take anyone down. Again, they were missing 3 ults going into that fight. IG were really only missing the feathers. I didn't even see how the first member of IG went down because YSKM doing so much on the back line. Maokai ult starts off the fight. They're going to be able to get in there. They lock down this Vi. Shadow gets instantly bursted out, but the return damage there on Tianzhen. And then, sadly for On, does look like he ended up getting slowed and pulled in, I guess, by Zhuo at first. And then they were just able to keep running him down. But like we said, YSKM on the back line. If you were watching him, his needlework was doing an insane amount.
Yeah, and that's the thing with Gwen is it's subtle at first, and then it becomes overwhelming as she sews everything into her fashion. And I especially love to see NIP's comp coming together with the way that they're playing it, right? We were really wondering how Angel and Shadow connect, how that works for Photic. We know Photic can carry. I mean, he's 3-0 now on the Aphelios with a 2-item spike. But it really was, how do they bridge into Photic being able to carry? And so far, the roaming gank squad for NIP has worked in these last few minutes. And I will say the momentum is definitely in their favor, but they can't let it get ahead of themselves. So now they got to be careful of the counter engage there.
I was going to say, I still really like what IG's comp can do, so I'm not going to count them out just yet, but the fact that we're having these item disparities, right? 2 items now, completely finished for Photic with his Gale Force in pocket.
Nature's God's coming out. Nice little dodge out of the Winter's Bite. Somebody's going to take it. No, the kitty's too short. IG can't find it.
So just net win for the side of Ninjas in Pyjamas with forcing out the TP from YSKM. If there was going to be any pressure they had, guaranteed it was going to be the pressure that YSKM could put up in a side lane. But now he's going to have to be very wary about that, especially around neutral objective timings, right? So I feel like for YSKM, now you either push this wave and start to head down towards Dragon and, you know, making sure that your team can generate the pressure to contest, or they could look to not even contest it, give over Soul Point for free, and look to go for a gold trade towards that top side. But, you know, pretty dicey letting an enemy team just get on Soul Point without a fight.
That's the thing, though, is there's a lot of mobility on the side of NIP. So if you're not already in position to trade and you're 1 second behind, right, that's too late. And you're not able to get the presence you want. So it seems like IG just want to try to force the hand a little bit and contest this bottom side of the map.
Gonna make their way in. Invincible still top. Gonna try and make his way down. He himself did wait quite a while. Did have the TP available just in case anything breaks out at first. For IG, they're gonna find Photic here.
Shadow charging it up here. Can't get the dredge line. They'll back away as their engage goes a little bit wide. Those are the big tools, as Angel will just be a big follow-up.
Mazel, real quick, I just want to point out this fight's also in favor of NIP for more than just the gold. Look at Cryin and On. Both have no flash up. 2 key carries will be very easy to focus down.
And again, that 2-item spike for Photic is huge. YSKM on the side here. Maybe he gets engaged on. They're going straight for him. Is Gwen going to be immune? But no, you're in the mist, so it's not true. There's the Dragon going over to IG, so that's actually pretty big. They get the trade back.
Overall, as IG, you take that. I mean, you stopped them from getting on Soul Point. You had 1 member go down, and it's like, NIP have nothing to transition this kill into. There's no turret that they can take down in the bot side. No turret, like all tier 1s have already been taken by NIP. So sadly, not as worthwhile.
What you're saying is they're just too good. That's what, is that what you're saying? No. You get actually that initial catch out
pretty all right. I like this a lot. Angel kind of waiting in the wings, sets up for the pick and the lean down towards this spot side. And again, even though I'm saying, you know, this pick didn't turn into the greatest, you know, objectives in the world, still a worthwhile pick for the side of NIP and making sure that they can start shutting this Gwen down before YSKM gets out of control.
Definitely don't want that Gwen to be running rampant in your backline. I like that turn dial focus. And speaking of, Wink, you find yourself in no man's land, and now you find yourself in a grave. They're going to potentially turn... They're thinking about it. We saw a lot of flips yesterday. They're going to go for it.
I mean, hell, you got one member down, you have all your key ults up. Invincible now even going to TP in, so hopefully
just got
NIP,
his second item completed too.
If they need to turn, hopefully they're decisive. They just commit to the fight.
They were trying to right there, but can't find that dredge line. So close every time, and here comes the Nature's Grasp. IG just want to make something happen. The Pop Blossom makes it not happen. Then the Moonlight Vigil following up, but that Featherstorm's pretty big. A Blade Caller from that could make a difference, but this just turns NIP's focus to the big purple worm, and there it goes. 5 purple capes for NIP.
Really textbook as well. Use that Baron, try and bring them into you to be able to force and engage. And I like that NIP did it right, because over the past few days, we have seen teams start up a Baron. It looks like they're going to try and bait a fight, and then they get the Baron low enough to where they get in their own heads and they get confused. But here, NIP know, hey, it's all about finding these kills. They lock the Maokai down because Tianzhen needs to try and go in. The AoE lockdown just comes in, and instantly 2 members just get taken out of the fight, and it means NIP can very easily turn back and finish this Baron.
It's pretty good pickup for NIP. They'll just continue jumping from strength to strength, really. Just hovering over that 9,000 gold lead on top of Invictus Gaming. And there is not going to be an objective for a little while for them. So they just need to push in with this Baron buff and really utilize the strength, the team composition, and the, more importantly, the item spikes coming through, especially that Magi's with 7 chapters in it for Angel.
And I'm so happy we've gotten to see NIP come in strong, right? Because it was very hard to tell where their form was at. I think Wink will be fine. Right, their first matchup was against
Shadow might not be
never
fine.
Mind.
That's going to be a flash. Ooh, dodging out of that shock blast there as well with that vault breaker. Ooh, Cryin though, getting chunked. The Nature's Grasp comes out. There's YSKM on your back door. Knock, knock. Can you answer? Goes in, getting bursted down again. That's multiple times we've seen that happen, and now NIP feel ruthless moving forward. The Blade Caller does come through, maybe trying to clear some of that wave, but there's Baron minions for another minute and 20 seconds. They should get this inhib, and even maybe mid lane.
Yeah, they're going to end up getting so much from this, and I still don't feel like IG can do anything off the back of this now that the Gwen is down. Let's remember the last time IG got kills in a fight, it was because of YSKM, and that's why he's the one sitting on 2 out of their 3 kills, so...
They're getting a little bit of an engage going on here with the Pop Blossom landing out of 3 members. And we've seen so many times this composition just tear IG apart. And they don't even get a single one. YSKM, you got to make the difference. You got to kill somebody. We'll see if they can even do it. But NIP just want to end the game at this point. That's 2 towers down. Now the Nexus in the focus. And NIP come out with a haymaker in game number 1.
You know, Mazel, I am all for desperation plays. I support them. I understand them. That one, I don't really know if you needed to go in. Your Gwen was going to be up again in like 5 seconds, and NIP were about to leave your base. But you know what? It got the game done with faster. So big congrats to NIP, because I was going to try and say before we had all the shenanigans, but like, well, you didn't really get a good read of NIP's level in their first series. They played against EDG, like, EDG are a really scary, strong team. They showed that, and I'm glad up against IG, who were a middle-of-the-pack team last split, we get more of a gauge of where NIP are, because NIP look good. They had some like really decisive moments. I like the Baron play. I like how quickly they turned, got those kills, and overall, even our questions around mid-jungle being answered, and like how are these two going to play with each other, and it looked really good. They were on the same page, constantly hovering down towards bot, walking into the enemy jungle together. It's pretty much exactly what we asked for from NIP.
Yeah, very true. And I think the decisiveness for me was the key point in all of it, right? They grabbed a very decisive needing comp. They needed to find those picks. They need to roam around and get something going. And they did just that. And we talked so much about how this Angel combination with Shadow is going to look, how they kind of cohese. And we saw that kind of supportive play to the rest of the team come out from this mid-jungle duo, make sure that Photic was set up for success. And it was Pop Blossoms every time from Angel that were making big differences, and a big, strong showing for game number 1 against Cryin, who was that big step up for IG last time around, getting those 2 MVPs. It's a nice little chip on the shoulder now, it feels like.
Yeah, and again, I'm glad this one delivered more than yesterday today. Like, both these teams very clearly
I was going to say at some point, are you
fight.
not entertained? Because we just had fights for like 3 minutes, but I didn't get a chance to say it.
Yeah, both these teams very clearly ready and willing to look for the fights. Even when IG didn't necessarily need to in a lot of these circumstances, which it does feel like it came back to bite them in the end. But still, this game just broke open so heavily with some of these plays around bot, right? And times when IG weren't set up to cross map or to trade. The big one I'm thinking about is like some of the free heralds that NIP were able to pick up, right? And we pan out to the Maokai. It's like, okay, he can't gank bot. He's now clearing out vision. Doesn't have time to aggressively push for his own vision or take away any camps. And it was like small wins like that then led into like the big herald play, into the kills on bot with the Moonlight Vigil from Aphelios. And it really just snowballed out of control from there.
I think one of my key worries for IG in that game, it did come down to a lot of execution errors. It felt like a lot of flanks set up that were just kind of left out in the open or too early, things like that. Just misaligning just a tiny bit can mean so much in a composition like this, and you needed to have that in line. But does that make a difference for looking at the Gwyn as a whole in this series? Because it was answered completely this time. Even with some of that early help there, it just was too much on the other side of the map.
I don't have like a huge problem in terms of picks with what IG did, right? They have like a very clear game plan. I think if you look at one thing they could maybe change is like maybe like picks with players, right? Like when I think of Cryin, I don't necessarily think of this huge Jace coming out. You think of him being a facilitator, and that's why in their first series, I think his Ahri game was better than his Tristana game. You think to him like things like the Annie and him really being the pioneer of something like that. And then Tianzhen, right? I mean, he's this big famous Rengar one trick. He has played a lot of Maokai in like his short career so far, but definitely didn't look as comfortable on it, especially when he fell behind, right? Kept trying to still force fights as this Maokai and just kept getting blown up. So
yeah. It's going to be interesting. I want to see some more priority given to Tianzhen. But we are going to take a little break here for just a moment while we get ready for game number 2 of our first series of the night. So